What do you think you could learn if you studied over $1 billion worth of marketing? Today, I'm sitting down with Dan Henry, one of the boldest and most unapologetic marketers in the game. He's going to uncover how he turned that $1 billion marketing knowledge into millions of dollars in revenue. Are you ready to show up boldly and craft irresistible offers and silence your inner critic? You're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to $1 Million Marketing. I'm your host, Jodi, and today I'm excited because my guest is someone I've known for quite a few years. And Dan Henry is bold, unapologetic, and one of the top marketers in our industry right now. Dan has studied over $1 billion in marketing, and that knowledge turned him into a millionaire. I first got to know Dan as part of his mastermind a few years ago, and we recently reconnected at Funnel Hacking Live in Las Vegas. So his authenticity and his fearless approach have really, truly set him apart. And I'm thrilled that he's joining us today. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Sweet. So quick, give us the highlights on how did you go from up and coming to where you are today?
So in 1997, there was a laundry detergent company that went from $10 million a year in revenue to $330 million. And they did it with one 30-minute infomercial. Now, you know this company as OxyClean, and the guy that did the infomercial was Billy Mays. What most people don't know is that I actually worked for the company where Billy Mays got his start. But see, most people don't get on TV. Most of us, we had to do these presentations in department stores and grocery stores to a bunch of shoppers. And when it came time for me to do my first presentation, I almost quit because I was super nervous. Well, my manager, who trained Billy Mays, said to me, he held up a sheet of paper and he said, "We spent millions crafting the words on these pages. We've made hundreds of millions from it. Do you think you're that damn special that it won't work for you?" So I decided to go ahead and do the presentation. And that day I made $1,500 in sales commissions, more than I'd ever made in an entire week in my life. And I learned that day that you will never be broke if you know what to say. After that, I became obsessed with learning marketing, learning online sales systems. And ultimately, what it really comes down to is if you can say it better than your competitors, you win. And I studied what I accounted for well over $1 billion worth of marketing to learn simply how to say it better. And that's what made me a millionaire.
In a nutshell. That's amazing. And your dedication to studying that has really proven to be effective, right? Like you are really good at what you do. People recognize you as one of the experts in the industry. You should be really proud of yourself for that.
Okay.
What is working for you right now in your marketing? Like something maybe that you've tweaked or updated like recently?
So for me, what I found is that your ability to scale a business comes down to your online selling system. Because if you are talking to each customer one at a time, then you don't have a system. You are the system. And so what I call this is educated leads. The best type of leads are educated leads, because an educated lead understands that you understand their problem better than they do. They understand your solution. They understand a lot of things. And if you have to explain this every single time that you talk to somebody, well, you have a bunch of uneducated leads. You are personally one at a time educating them. But if you have a what they call one-to-many system where you can educate your leads on what is their problem, why does it exist, what is the root cause, and what does your solution look like, then you have a system that will produce either a sale without you having to take a sales call, or it will produce somebody who is so damn educated on what you do that when you do a sales call, it becomes a formality and it's more of order taking. Now, for me, what's been working well lately is what I call paid presentations. Now, I've made roughly $35 million with my business, and I've done it with 3 types of online selling systems. The first type is a short presentation. That is a 5 to 10 minute video. And generally you will sell anything from a book or a guide or a software. Right now we have a copywriting software that we sell with literally like a 5-minute presentation. And it's $97 a month. And we're selling like 10 people a day on it. Tiny little sales presentation. The next is a live sales presentation. This is generally 1 to 2 hours. Most people know it as a webinar. This is where you have more time. You can educate people one to many, and then again, send them to buy something or send them to a sales call. Then you have what I call paid presentations. Now, paid presentations, what I love, imagine if you could get 100% show rate on your webinars. Imagine if you could get 100% show rate on your sales calls. And imagine if you got paid to do sales calls. That's a paid presentation. So it's a multi-day presentation that people pay for, that when they do that, their butts are in seats. Because I always explain it like a movie trailer. If you see a movie trailer and you see something that you don't like, you don't buy a ticket to the movie. I mean, how many times has that happened to you in your life? You just don't buy a ticket. But if you buy a ticket to a movie, you sit in the seat, you've got your popcorn, you've got your drink, and you see something in the movie you don't like, do you get up and leave? No, you don't.
No, because you paid to be there.
You paid to be there. And so you don't leave. And so what I've noticed is when I do paid presentations, even if I charge $7 for a webinar, I mean, I've charged $500, I've charged $297, it doesn't matter. Even $7, the show rate is almost 100% every time. And people that pay attention, and people that pay attention pay more. And what I realized early on in this business is that, and this has been absolutely paramount to me becoming a millionaire, you are not in the whatever you do business. What business is Tony Robbins in? Do you know?
I'm not sure what angle you're coming at. Tell me.
Most people would say life coaching, motivation, something like that. Yeah. No, he's not. He's in the presentation business, because he started out with infomercials. Okay. He started out with infomercials. He used infomercials, live events. What is his business? He sells you into one paid presentation, $5,000 for Date with Destiny, I believe it's called. Then at that presentation, he sells you into the next one, Unleash the Power Within, and then Business Mastery, and then Platinum Partners, all the way up to like $85,000. He is in the presentation business. Look at what's the most valuable tech company of all time, computer company, Apple, right? Who built up Apple and sold it to the world?
I don't remember his name. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You're not an entrepreneur. You don't remember Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs.
I was like, is it Steve Jobs? I'm not an Apple girl. So
that's unfortunate. So it's Steve Jobs, right? Now, what did Steve Jobs do every single year to sell more Apple?
Makes a presentation
introducing the new Apple products. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what did OxyClean do to go from $10 million in revenue to $330 million in revenue? They did a 30-minute presentation. Yeah. Every single company that I just told you about is not in the laundry detergent business. They are not in the life coaching business, and they are not in the computer business. They're in the presentation business. And when you realize that you are not in the whatever you do business, you are in the presentation business, that is when your business will explode. And so everything I do, everything I focus on is how do I consistently craft good, amazing presentations? How do I optimize them, whether they're 5 minutes or whether they're 5 days, to scale my company so I don't have to talk to one person at a time and I make sales a formality? That is all I focus on. That's all I've ever focused on when I started. And that's why I've been able to make $35 million in this space with a tiny team. And I've been able to do it consistently year after year after year, no matter how bad or saturated or tough the industry gets.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things. First of all, it's funny that you mentioned Tony Robbins, because I just saw your Tony Robbins ad yesterday, the clapping one. So good. But I remember back at your mastermind in St. Pete, at your house there, you were already working on like your sold out courses
Yeah, that was a
webinar.
program I had years ago. Yeah.
That is that still alive? Or because you did a webinar for that. It was an automated webinar. And I
Mhm.
remember sitting there, I was like, Dan, you need a bridge page, like opt-in bridge page, collect the data, go to the presentation for the like the Facebook ads pixel and stuff. I remember that moment. But are you still selling that offer or is that retired?
That's retired. We sold that and then we reframed it as a program I called Digital Millionaire Coaching. We did about 15 million with that program. And I largely now I sell a mastermind and some done for you stuff. I started some other businesses outside of the internet marketing space that are doing amazing. And so I kind of honestly, I just do this for fun at this point. I don't wake up in the morning thinking, what can I teach about sales pages and webinars?
Yeah.
You know, I think
You're not
about,
going to pull a Ryan Dice and retire on us, are you?
well, it depends on how much my other businesses scale, but they're scaling pretty quick. So,
Yeah. Actually, you recently did a deep dive kind of YouTube on the Ryan Dice I'm retired marketing campaign, and you broke down why that was so brilliant. So, can you share just really quickly, like why you found that particular strategy to be so powerful, or how our listeners could apply something similar without going to such extremes of I'm retiring?
well, he didn't say he was retiring. He said he was retiring out. They were getting out of the, you know, digital marketing education business, right? But then the new offer is digital marketing education with AI. So
Mhm.
really, I could say to you, hey, I'm going to go to the store, or I could say I'm going to go shopping. Both mean the same thing, but you just said different words. Now, in marketing, one extremely effective way to keep your company alive for many, many years is you keep selling essentially the same thing, but you just keep repackaging it to sound new and fresh. This is a hardcore, very old school marketing tactic. Is at the end of the day, there's really nothing new. We all sell the same stuff: health, wealth, and relationships. You're either selling how to make money or save money, how to look good naked, or how to do stuff when you're naked. That's pretty much it. Okay. Every single offer falls under one of those three things. And if you don't think that it does, well, then you don't know jack shit about marketing, because there's only three markets. That's it. So there's only so much stuff you can sell. Your success does not depend on coming up with a new thing to sell. It is coming up with a new way to explain what you sell and make it sound different and better than everybody else. Because people who create new products 99.9% of the time are unsuccessful. Okay? They're just unsuccessful. And you think that because you heard, oh, this new invention, this guy got rich. Well, you didn't hear about the, hundreds of thousands of people that came up with an invention that lost, that didn't succeed. But most people who make it, most people who build amazing companies are not coming up with anything new. They're just improving on something that already exists. And so from a standpoint of your ability to make something successful, the percentage of how successful it can be, I personally like to go with a higher percentage, more stable strategy than rolling the dice and just gambling, because that is what being a pioneer is. It's gambling.
Right.
Entrepreneurs find problems in the market that are not solved as good as they could be solved. They solve them better and they profit from that. And the way to package and market that is to simply explain it better, make it sound new, make it sound fresh, and repackage it. That is how you keep a business alive.
And creating certainty. If you can pitch it and create certainty
Uh-huh.
for your buyer, they will
Yeah.
definitely be more interested in buying. I mean, I recently like repackaged how I sell my offer, and so I completely relate to that. I didn't change what I'm selling.
Uh-uh.
I'm positioning it differently and
Yeah.
charging more. So
Well,
thank
most
you.
people don't want to buy things that are old, but most people don't realize that it's the old stuff that works. So you simply keep the old stuff and repackage it to make it sound new. And that's how you sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to transition a little bit and talk about a little bit about your personal evolution. So, I mean, I've followed you closely for a while. A lot of people have. You've got so much. You've you're very polarizing. You have haters, you have people that follow you, defend you. Um, but I've seen you evolve both personally and professionally. So how has that journey, or has that journey changed how you show up online now?
Well, I think that a lot of people defend me because they have common sense and they realize that for anyone to become a better version of themselves, they have to have a pretty crappy older version. You know, they can't
Mhm.
transform, they can't become better if at one point they weren't perfect. And so, you know, it's kind of funny because most of this stuff is driven by society. And I'm just going to be honest with you, I feel like Western society is one of the most toxic societies in the history of civilization because it's a very bipolar type of society. It's not stable. For instance, there was a period in Western society where it was like, listen, your mistakes do not define you. Anybody can be better. Anybody, you know, don't let your mistakes define you. This was like a core message that resonated throughout the world, the Western world. And then it all of a sudden it became, hey, did you make a mistake 15 years ago where you accidentally hit on the wrong girl? Now you deserve to lose your job and you deserve to be labeled as a sex offender because one time 15 years ago, this thing happened, right? And thankfully, I never had anything like that happen. But the point is that Western society and culture tends to just completely flip flop constantly. So you can't keep up with it. Whereas other cultures around the world tend to have a much less, you know, volatile culture. And it's pretty much been the same for hundreds of years. That's why I don't like living in the US anymore. I live in the UAE. It's just more stable here. People are more stable, you know?
Mhm.
And so online, you have people from everywhere. And a lot of people are going to buy into that concept that, hey, you made a mistake, you said the wrong thing, therefore you suck no matter what you do now. And then other more reasonable people will say, it doesn't matter what you did, you're getting better, and that's all that counts. I believe the people that follow me are the reasonable people.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like rules for me, but or rules for thee, but not for me. Like people expect you to be, held to a certain standard, but then they'll go do the same thing, or yeah, like bringing up stuff from the past that, I mean, geez, aren't we all just striving to be, reasonable people are striving to be better every day, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're bringing up stuff from the past and holding that against you, I don't know. I completely agree with everything that you said. Western culture is very
Yeah.
volatile.
Well,
It's
it's
one of
because
the reasons why I
people in the
homeschool my
West,
kids. Like, I'm not putting
yeah,
my kids in school where people are pooping in a cat litter box. Like, what?
yeah, yeah.
That's the
Well,
weirdest thing.
people in the West people in the West are highly influenced by the media and by pop culture. People in the Middle East or Asia or what have you are highly influenced by culture, family values, and religion. And when your entire way of being is determined by what TV show happens to be on the air this decade, well, that's going to create volatility. And, you know, I find it funny because obviously I live in the Middle East, so I get a lot of people in the US who criticize me for that. And what I find interesting is that people will say that they do not respect women in the Middle East. But here in Dubai, you cannot touch a woman, you cannot harass or even hit on a woman, you will go to jail. Women are protected here more than anywhere I have ever seen. Whereas in the US, they have a restaurant, several, named after a pair of tits that you take your children to eat. Hooters, Wing House, Twin Peaks. But somehow in their fried Western brains, they think that the US and the West has more respect for women than the Middle East, which completely just melts my brain how they could ever come to that conclusion. And I realized, oh, it's because they saw an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie once where somebody had a gun and said Allahu Akbar, and they based everything they believe about the world off that one movie. And that's
Hmm.
fucking stupid. So,
Hmm.
you know, this is what I mean by people in the West are highly, 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 like their whole lives are what they see on television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, do you think that being more authentically yourself has impacted the kind of people that you're attracting? Has it changed? Or do you still see like the the polarizing comments, the people that like come and attack you versus the people that, come to your not your rescue. You don't need rescuing, but they support you.
I wish I could tell you that being polarizing was a marketing strategy of mine. And I guess to a degree it is, but ultimately it's a personal value of mine. I made a decision years ago that I will never say something that I don't believe in for the sake of making money. And it just so happens that most of the things I believe in tend to be polarizing. And so it kind of came naturally. And maybe I juice it up a little bit for the sake of pattern interrupts, but ultimately everything I say that because I believe in it. And if I change my beliefs, I will tell you that as well. But I don't say things simply to market. I share my values in a way that is marketable. And that to me is how you remain authentic. You take the part of you that is the most interesting, the most debatable, and you simply use that when expressing your values because everybody has something they believe in that most people don't. And if you're willing to share what that is in your brand, in your marketing, and in your business, that will set you apart and that will attract people who think like you and who value what you value, and those are the best customers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I know like sometimes you've had backlash and stuff like that too. Is that ever anything that gets in your brain, or are you pretty
Now,
tough at like just shielding that?
when I first started, I realized when I first started, I did let it bother me a little bit. And there's a funny story behind this. What actually made me a millionaire was getting naked. I was in a Facebook group about branding, and the group owner was telling everybody, listen, be yourself, be unapologetically yourself. And my father was a comedian, he was an on air comedian. And so I always was a very jokeable, you know, I made a lot of jokes. I did a lot of wild and crazy things because that was who my father was. That's what I learned. And I always kept really strict in my marketing and it never landed. And then one day I got naked. I got on the couch. I took a picture and I photoshopped a little smiley face over the part that you shouldn't see. Uh, and I posted it in this group and I said, don't you want to learn marketing from this guy? And I had thumbs up. And that was the theme that day was post something in the group that's unapologetically you. So I posted the picture of me, literally spread eagle with the smiley face like this. And I said, don't you want to learn marketing from this guy? And the group owner got very angry. She was a liberal. So as per usual, they say one thing and do another. And she kicked me out of the group. And at
Mhm.
that moment, I was very regretful that the very first time I decided to get out of my shell and share me and be unapologetically me, it backfired until I realized that a probably 300 to 400 people who saw that post clicked on my name, joined my Facebook group, and ended up buying stuff that I was promoting in my group. And I realized that as bad as it felt, I made more money that day than I had ever made previous. And that's when I realized, oh, it doesn't matter how I feel because it's impossible to make one person happy without pissing another person off.
Mm.
If you have, like, think about it. Every time you come out of church, I guarantee you there's an atheist who drives by who says, fuck that guy, period. So you might say, well, I don't do anything that pisses anybody off. Yes, you do. Unless you sit in your house and you do nothing, you don't go outside, any action you take that shows your values will piss off people who don't share those values. So if you're going to piss people off anyway, you might as well get paid for it.
I love that. Okay. I don't think I'll ever take a picture of myself naked and post
Well,
it in a Facebook
that's
group.
not
If
that's
that's
not
okay.
ladylike, and that's not you. And that was obviously me that was me 10 years ago.
I
Again,
don't
my
think that
father,
today either. Yeah, no, that was. Have you told that story in other places, or is this like
I might
I've
have
never
told that.
heard
I
that?
might have told that a couple times. This was you know, 20s Dan. So I'm not saying that's me now, but when you grow up with a dad who's a shock jock and a comedian, what do you think's going to happen? You know?
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. All right. Hopefully my kids will be all right after having me for their mother.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with having a sense of humor.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to jump right into the quick fire round before we wrap up here. So, what is one controversial marketing opinion that you hold that other people are too afraid to hold?
Controversial marketing opinion that I hold that other people are afraid to hold. I would say something like, okay, I would say this. There's a lot of people that sit there and say, oh, you know, you got to get over imposter syndrome. You got to get motivated. That's bullshit. Okay. Look, you can be incredibly fucked up. And if your funnel has good copy and your website has good copy and your ads are good copy, it's going to convert and you're going to be rich. Doesn't matter how fucked up you are, period. So all this bullshit, hugging each other at a Tony Robbins event and writing your daily affirmations and journaling doesn't mean shit. Your shit either converts or it doesn't. The end, period. Okay.
This is what I wanted from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've made millions of dollars depressed and I've made millions of dollars incredibly happy and fulfilled. It has had zero impact on my ability to make money because I don't base my actions on how motivated I am or how happy or depressed I am. And that's the thing is you will always go through cycles of life where you feel good and you feel bad. And it's fine to feel that way. What you don't want to do is base your actions off of how you feel. Because when, as Mike Tyson said, when you can train your mind to be stronger than your feelings, you can do anything. So instead of working on getting over imposter syndrome and lack of motivation in this and that, simply do not make that a requirement to do what you need to do to win. Just do it anyway, regardless of how you feel, and then go fucking pay for the therapy after you've made all the money to pay for it. Like, it's that simple.
That was a whole sermon that I needed to hear. Thank you. I literally yesterday, like thinking about this interview, I was like, I'm feeling some imposter syndrome. Okay. And then Alex Sharpin says, like, imposters don't get imposter syndrome. Jodi, you are not an imposter. Like, you are a good business owner, a good marketer. Like,
yeah, I say, who gives a shit? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. How does that affect your ads? They're either good or they're not. How does that affect your sales system? It's either good or it's not. Who gives a shit if you're fucked up or not? It converts or it doesn't. The end. That's it.
Yeah. The data, not the feelings. I'm very much I'm very data driven. So that resonates with me. I'm going to take that one and chew on it for a little bit. All right. Rapid fire question number 2. Maybe we'll be more rapid this time. Sorry. Most underrated marketing tactic or tool that you think every entrepreneur should start using today? I'm not good at giving you rapid fire questions.
What, do you want a tactic or a tool?
Tactic.
I would say one of the most underrated marketing tactics is split testing your hooks in your videos. So when you script an Instagram reel, you can create 4 or 5 different hooks. You sit down, you record the 4 or 5 hooks, then you record the meat of the reel. You edit each one, so there's 5 different variations. You upload all 5 variations as trial reels to Instagram. Instagram will not show those reels to your existing followers. It will show them to new people. You take all 5, you publish them at the same time. The one that gets the most views, that's the winner. You go ahead and you publish that to your page. And then you just keep doing that. And you look, okay, what type of hooks are working for me more and more and more. And you do more of those and less of the ones that fail. And over time, you will learn exactly what to say to grow your brand.
Yeah. I've seen you do that very, very well. I've seen you pull out your phone and just like riff and like the hooks just come pouring out of your mouth. And it's incredible to watch. You're very talented.
The reason I do that, the reason I'm good at that is because I decided one day to make hooks a part of how I normally conversate throughout life. When I speak to my wife, when I speak to someone at the gym, when I speak to someone on the phone, when I'm ordering food, I just always create a hook, period. And I get used to it. And because I get the reps in, I end up always having hooks. So if I go up to order a burger, I don't say, can I have a burger with no mayonnaise and and no cheese. I say, I'm about to give you the strangest burger order you've had all day. And then I say it. Okay. Because
I
most
could.
people,
Oh,
they like cheese.
you talked about how to get like free late checkout for a hotel by like walking up to the concierge and saying like, "I'm about to make your day really terrible,"
Yeah,
and
that
then
is a Chris Voss technique, a negotiation tactic.
okay,
You create a, so this is a great way to make a expensive service sound cheap. You'll say, hey, I am about to make you an offer. It's $50,000 for my private consulting. And I believe by the end of this presentation, you're smart enough to know if it's for you or not. And then at the end of the presentation, you say, hey, remember when I said that I have a $50,000 consulting package? Well, I do, but I also have something that's a lot more affordable. Would you like to hear about that? And then they say, yes, of course. And then what happens is when you drop a $10,000 or even $20,000 price tag, instead of you dropping a $20,000 price tag for the first time and them going, oh my God, it's 20,000, because you've already set the precedent that it will be 50. Now that's less than half when you finally say it. And so they'll be like, oh, okay, well, there's a 20. That's a lot more reasonable versus sticker
yeah,
shock. So this is a
you've price
way,
anchored it.
this is a way to pre-frame your price to take away the sticker shock.
Love that. Love that. Okay, what is your favorite book that you'd recommend for entrepreneurs who are ready to level up their marketing game?
There's so many. I would say if you can find it, try to find it's not for sale. It's very difficult to find. Try to find the original Agora copywriting training manual for Agora employees. If you can find that, but if you can't find that, then I would probably say I'm writing a new book, but I have several. I would say probably the best one to buy if you're looking to level up your marketing. I mean, all of them really. I would definitely buy the Pocket Guide to High Ticket Selling because that book just gives you a script that you can use right now when you talk to prospects. So that's going to be the most tangible book.
Yeah.
My other book, Digital Millionaire Secrets, shows you the entire, you know, how to convert your knowledge into a product. But
Mhm.
something that you could buy and look and use right now would be the Pocket Guide to High Ticket Selling. I also have something that I just created. It is a online scorecard to assess your online selling system.
Okay.
So it's 10 questions, and you take those questions and it will score your current online selling system and it will show you how to make it better. You can actually get that at getclients.com/score.
Awesome. I'm going to head there after this interview. That's awesome. Okay, what is one personal habit or nutrition hack that keeps your energy and focus sharp throughout the day?
Not
I
eating
know that's important.
carbohydrates.
Not eating carbs.
Yeah, I try to not eat them at all. Um, Generally, I was able to lose 30 pounds in about 6 weeks by eating chicken and egg whites and white fish and nothing else, and just hardening my mind to deal with it. But
Mhm.
generally, if I don't eat any sort of carbohydrates, if I just eat fats and proteins and not even vegetables, it gives me mental clarity beyond. Uh, I mean, it's literally like taking Adderall, and it also after the first week where you feel like you're going to die, it gives you way more energy because when you do that, your energy is stable versus carbohydrates, where your energy goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And if you're up and down during the day, you're not going to get a lot done. But if you're stable
Mhm.
during the day, you're going to get a lot more done. So I would
Yeah.
say not eating carbs. And I know all these fitness people will be like, well, no, you can eat carbs. Okay, great. Good for you. But when I do it, when I don't eat carbs, I get ripped. I look good naked and I'm super focused. So you do you. I'll do me, boo.
Yeah. I'm super aligned with that. I've lost over 70 pounds by not eating carbs. So like I totally,
Yeah.
totally
The
on
only
board with it.
reason fitness influencers say you can get ripped without giving up carbs is because they want to sell you something and they think that you'll only buy it if you say that you don't have to give up carbs. And that's probably true, but that doesn't mean it's real.
I think the people that are afraid to give up carbs are the people that have never tried it before. Like
They're
I
just
eat
fat
a
people.
very, yeah, I eat a very satisfying amount of food and I'm never hungry. Maybe I'm empty sometimes, but not
Yeah.
hungry. And the food that I eat is of high nutritional value, and I'm
Yeah.
not filling myself up. Yeah.
I believe losing weight is, unless you have a thyroid issue or something, losing weight is all mental. It's not a
Mhm.
diet. Because look, at the end of the day, if you ate
Excellent.
chicken and egg whites every day and you did 45 minutes of cardio, you're going to get ripped. So is the problem your diet or your exercise routine, or is it that you're just a lazy fat fuck and you're not willing to do the work? Probably
It's
that.
it's that you don't have the discipline to not take your
Yeah.
hand and pick up the crap and put it in your face.
Yeah.
Like, just
You're
start doing that.
prioritizing your comfort and how stimulated your mind gets with dopamine when you eat something that is sweet or that is fattening over the comfort you get when you take off your shirt, you look in the mirror and you go, damn, I'd fuck me.
Oh my gosh. All right. What is, oh boy, this is a good question after that statement. What is one core value from your faith that has positively influenced how you run your business?
Modesty, modesty. I used to be a very immodest person. I used to date immodest women. And again, I know this is not going to go over well with the Western people, but I believe modesty is directly tied to how good of a person you are. And it's something I still struggle with because I would probably say using profanity is a bit immodest. And so obviously I'm not perfect. I'm still working on it. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you're one of those people who, like, I just have to ask myself, if my wife is on Instagram showing off her body and showing off her skin, why would I want to marry that woman? Because would you agree that attention is to women what sex is to men? Women love
Absolutely.
attention, right? Well, what do you do when you post that stuff on the internet? What are you looking for?
Attention.
Attention. So you're basically cheating on your husband, you
Mm.
know? Now, look,
Mhm.
here's what's wild about this. If you are an atheist and you disagree with the fact that your wife should be modest, you know what? I respect you. I respect you because you do not believe in a higher power. You do not believe in an Abrahamic God. But if you are a Christian and you disagree with me, then I don't respect you because
Mm.
your very religion, just like Islam, just like Judaism, is highly against immodesty in women, is highly against showing skin in public, is highly against that. So you may skip that part of your religion, but it is in your religion. So for me, it's either be an atheist or be religious. But if you're going to be religious, don't parade your woman around like some sort of prostitute and then be like, glory to God, man. Yeah, like women's rights and stuff, because you're just basically full of shit. You know, I respect the atheist more than I do the Christian that decides he's simply not going to follow the book. And fortunately, that's generally not a problem in, non-Christian religions like Islam or Judaism. They tend to follow that rule.
Yeah. Do you think do you think that's an issue because Christianity has become so westernized?
Yes, because if you look at Orthodox Christians, they're almost exactly the same as Muslims. The women generally cover, or they're at least dressed modest, and they actually pray on their knees and put their heads on the ground like Muslims do. Western Christians are basically like, well, Jesus died for my sins, so I can basically do whatever I want. And cool, man. And I don't like that. I honestly don't like the concept that if Jesus dies for your sins, you're good, because then there's no accountability. Like in Islam, you have to do good works. So, like, there's accountability. What type of system has ever worked that did not have accountability? So, like,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense to me. You
Mhm.
know, there's no incentive to be a good person if, oh, he died for my sins, we're good. So I just think that's
Yeah.
something that the West has corrupted in Christianity. And basically you got these women and these men walking around basically looking like, because like here's what it is. And a lot of people are going to be offended by this, but in the West today, most women out and about look like a prostitute in the 50s. And
Mm.
so The thing is you might say, well, times have changed. No, you still look like a prostitute. It's just that all of your friends also look like prostitutes. So there's no one there to judge you.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
crazy.
So and look, you do whatever you want. Anybody can do whatever they want. But for me personally, I want my wife to be modest. I want to work as myself on being more modest. I want to teach my son to be modest. And I believe that is a core value of any religion that follows God, whether that's Islam, Judaism, or Christianity. And as I said, I respect the atheist who says, I can be naked, versus the Christian who's like, nah, it's fine. Women's rights. Yay. Right. So,
Mhm.
and again, like, obviously my parents are Christian. My dad is Christian, but that's where I learned a lot of that immodest stuff from. And, the West obviously influenced them. So that's why, like I say, I'm a lot different now than I was back then, with the stupid marketing and the girls and the smiley face on my junk and all that, to where I am now, where I don't do that stuff anymore, because I've found God. And unlike a lot of people, when I found God, I decided to do what God said, not just wear a "What would Jesus do" t-shirt and then not do what Jesus would do.
Yeah, it requires a true heart change, which requires true repentance. I think the people that are walking around there, not following the principles of Christianity or whatever religion that they say that they are a part of, it's like faith without works is dead. And if you're not going to live out your faith in an authentic way, then is it real?
That is why in the West, there is a lot of mental health problems, because what causes
Mhm.
depression and anxiety and things like this is when you behave outside of who you believe to be as a person, when your actions don't match your values. So if you are a Christian and you're running around half naked in the gym, you may not realize it, but you are completely out of alignment with who you would like to think of yourself as a person. Your actions do not match your values, and it probably doesn't match your values in other areas of your life. And this is what creates depression. This is what creates anxiety. It is a misalignment with yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I fully align with everything that you just said. I love that you said all of that. It's really great.
Probably get
Um,
me in trouble, but I'm already rich, so who gives a shit?
that's such a great perspective. Like, don't care.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Do you have any cool things going on right now that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think you should go to getclients.com/score. We have a quiz that will rate your online selling system, and see if it's optimized or not. And then it'll give suggestions on how to make it more.
Awesome. And thank you again. Genuinely, like, this was great. Thank you so much.
No
All
worries.
right, guys, this was another episode of the Million Dollar Marketing Podcast. And I hope that you would tune in next time. Give us a like, a subscribe, rate, and review. And we will see you again next week.